While the city council might only give you 60 seconds to air your grievances,
Oh, hi. I'd like to start off by...
Go to the first caller on the phone.
well, if you're lucky,
Now.
we're giving you a full 60 minutes. It's the KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang, an hour-long recap of the day's top local stories on your drive home. And unlike the city council, we're the perfect vehicle to actually get your voice heard. The KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang starts now.
It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Well, yesterday, the LA County Board of Supervisors had yet another update on the incredibly misguided idea of closing Men's Central Jail. Let's give it a listen.
Thank you. And again, thank you for that motion. We will now
Wouldn't be a Board of Supervisors meeting if we weren't thanking everybody all the time.
We'll now move on to item 22, report on the progress of closing Men's Central Jail, which was held by Supervisor Horvath, Faiza Davenport, CEO, Wilford Pinkney, Executive Director, and Chidinma Ume, Deputy Executive Director of Jail Closure Implementation Team, CEO's Office, will make a presentation and welcome.
I really didn't need to play that, but I know the struggle, Catherine Barger, when sometimes you read something and you have no idea how to pronounce it.
Good afternoon.
All right, let's hear the presentation from the group that works in LA County that's been working for many years now to eventually close Men's Central Jail. And it's not like we're going to close it because we're building a new prison. The plan is a new jail. The plan is to close Men's Central Jail and not have a replacement. Where exactly all those inmates and mental patients go? No idea.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I'm here to discuss the work to safely close Men's Central Jail. My team and I respect the seriousness and urgency of the task. From day one,
even if this is something you have wanted, there's no urgency here. They've been working on this for like 5 years, maybe because it's one of those things that in the heat of the moment sounded like a really good idea for Hilda Solis. But the more that this becomes real, the more they realize it doesn't make any sense.
From day one, we have worked to quickly mobilize county departments and actively engage community partners around the dual goals of closing down Men's Central Jail and expanding our community-based system of care.
Yes, see, because instead of building a new jail, because the conditions at Men's Central Jail are so awful, I don't know if they are. They might be. I've never been to jail. Shocking, right? But not having a place to put all these people means they're going to go out into the community to what? Community-based services? This is almost like a defunding of the police on a grand, massive scale. Because ultimately, what was defund the police? What was that movement? Sure, there was a lot of emotion and everyone was running around crazy in May of 2020. But also, the crux of what defund the police is, the crux of what Measure J was in LA County, which was authored by Eunice Hernandez, and the crux of close Men's Central Jail, it's really about a transfer of money. It's not about so much you're defunding the police as you're taking a portion of the budget that was going to the police, or in this case, the sheriff's department who runs the jails, and you're diverting it to your friends in the nonprofit world that, quote, have a better way to do things.
I've spoken directly to those in the community.
Oh, yeah. So this guy who's in charge of the task force to close Men's Central Jail, he's new. He's been brought on the project about 4 months ago, and he came to one really brilliant solution so far.
In my 4 months here, it's been clear that the name Jail Closure Implementation Team does not fully convey the broader holistic mission of the work.
The first thing the people in charge of closing the jail have decided to do this year is change the name of their organization to not mention that they're closing the jail, because the average constituent of Los Angeles might not be okay with closing the jail. I would argue the average constituent of Los Angeles County isn't even aware that they're trying to close the jail. Maybe they are. I don't know. This county voted for Measure A and a whole bunch of other nonsense in the same time we kicked out Gascon. LA County is kind of an enigma.
In my 4 months here, it's been clear that the name Jail Closure Implementation Team does not fully convey the broader holistic mission of the work. The new name, Community Safety Implementation Team.
Oh, that means nothing. It's like all these departments of community safety that Karen Bass has in Los Angeles, or former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao had in the city of Oakland, where she had this Department of Violence Prevention. And you know what that did? The Department of Violence Prevention had life coaches that would reach out to gang members when there's a gang shooting and would tell them how to improve their lives and not have a retaliatory shooting. How'd that work out?
The new name, Community Safety Implementation Team, fosters collaboration with partners whose involvement will help achieve closing the jail in the shortest time frame.
Even if this is something you want, the slow grind pace of county bureaucracy is to the point where it took this guy who's now in charge of this task force 4 months to say, we're going to change the name of our task force.
It also reflects the board's care first, jails last approach,
which we kind of voted for because we decided that Hilda Solis didn't even need to worry about a primary opponent. Holly Mitchell got another term. Janice got another term. Lindsay Horvath got elected, although I don't think Horvath would have necessarily been any better or any worse than Huggy Bear, the guy she was running against.
That believes community safety is improved by directing people to health services in the community instead of jail.
What does that mean? Where are these people going? There have been many times where people say, well, the problem with Men's Central Jail is almost the entire population is mental patients that have nowhere to go because we closed all of the mental hospitals. Okay, so where are you going to put them? Back on the street? With an ankle monitor? Is the idea that we're going to put everyone on probation with ankle monitors? Because I got news for you. The probation department is severely understaffed right now, and they're forcing all the field deputies into juvenile hall, and so there is nobody to check on ankle monitors and probation and all this other nonsense.
Finally, the name reflects our belief that it is important that the work includes the expertise and experience of community members.
Okay, so that means nothing. That means they're going to find certain community organizations, maybe ones that want to destroy the system from the inside out because they're a community organization, a term that means nothing. Well, then they get as much say as, I don't know, what the law says. Is there even a legal standpoint where you can get rid of a jail? Like, what exactly does the county expect to do when somebody gets arrested? Everyone goes to diversion? How exactly is this going to work? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I do know that one of the issues that the county is dealing with when it comes to their other plan, which is to close all the juvenile halls, including our favorite Los Padrinos, is that all the organizations that they want to transfer those youth inmates to, statutorily with the state, don't have the legal authority to take care of those people. Probation officers do. So by trying to take that authority away from probation officers, they want to transfer that funding to departments of nonprofits that legally cannot be caretakers of these people. It might be the same thing here. I don't think any of this is thought out, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If the conditions at Men's Central Jail are awful, then let's improve them. But if you go on by the standpoint that all jails are awful and we need to get rid of them, that's not a serious argument.
But let me be clear. Our goal is to safely close Men's Central Jail without a replacement. That has not changed.
And of course, these meetings happen during the afternoon on a weekday, Tuesdays specifically, where you, the average person who doesn't really approve of the idea of closing the jails, doesn't really have time to get down and make their voice heard. So who comes here to applaud this line? Oh, that's right, the activist class, or maybe the nonprofits that would be getting the funding that right now is going to keep the jail open. This is all about a transfer of wealth.
Our goal is to safely close Men's Central Jail without a replacement. That has not changed.
We're going to get money. Millions of dollars that go to the sheriff's department is going to go to us because we have a better way to do things. Care first. jails last. Although now it's care first, jails never.
Next slide, please.
Once again, nobody knows how to use PowerPoint. You know, I'm all about government efficiency, and I think I have found a way to save a ton of money. Instead of having a specific employee who has to, whether it's Barbara Ferrer or this guy,
Next slide, please.
has to constantly ask for the next slide, can we give these guys a clicker? That's how most people do it with PowerPoint. They click. But no, in city and county government, we have to pay a separate employee to click the mouse to go next slide on Microsoft PowerPoint.
A number of themes have emerged in our discussion with the county and community partners. First, there's a healthy skepticism that this effort is authentic and distinct from previous efforts to close the jail.
Well, that's because even if you support this nonsensical idea, they've been talking about it for what it seems like 7 or 8 years now.
That is fair. We've learned from community and other partners that a lack of transparency has created a deep distrust, and their expertise and input has not been included in the effort. Trust is something that will take time to develop, but we're focused on demonstrating that we will be transparent in our process and expect to be held accountable for our work.
By the way, if you wonder when this started, this will tell you the timing of everything. This was originally something brought by Hilda Solis it was voted 4-1 in July of 2020. You know, the year when everyone went crazy with COVID lockdowns and the George Floyd protests and all this other nonsense. In that moment of passion, the LA County Board of Supervisors voted to close Men's Central Jail within 12 months. And the abolitionist crowd out there, which includes Ulysses Hernandez, are very upset that Men's Central Jail did not close in 12 months. It has now been almost 5 years. And why did it not close within 12 months? Because this idea makes no sense. How much money are we spending on studying how we depopulate the jail?
Second, there's an underutilization of...
And think of already with how lax we are in Los Angeles. Things have changed with Prop 36, more on that in a minute. But for the most part, you have to do something real bad to be even stuck in jail. We don't have pretrial bail for a whole bunch of different offenses now. You do have the mentally ill in there, and that's a failure of the state and the federal government, because back in the 90s, the federal government thought it would be a great idea to make sure that you cannot get Medicare reimbursement if you have a facility that has more than 16 people in it, because we don't want mental hospitals. That's a massive failure and something I wish the new federal government would take a look at, because that was one of the stupidest things that was ever put forth, because states, counties, cities, they're not going to fund anything like this unless they get matching dollars. And if they're going to get reimbursed for something, they're going to get reimbursed for, we're going to have these little tiny 16-bed facilities that are totally infeasible, that do not work. And so everyone else just gets housed in the jail. On top of that, thanks to things like AB 109, prison realignment, thanks to Jerry Brown and the legislature back in 2010, what do you have? You have a whole bunch of people that were in prison that get kicked down to the county jails, which means all the county jails are overcrowded. Same thing, by the way, is going on with the juvenile halls. You know why the juvenile halls are so bad? Because the state-run ones all got closed and they kicked it all down to the county.
Second, there's an underutilization of capacity in the community to provide care due to structural issues. These include a lack of clear standards of care for depopulation services for community partners.
Depopulation means letting everyone out and putting them where? At a sober living house? How's that going to work out?
Difficulty navigating a burdensome county contracting process, insufficient funding to cover the true cost of providing services, and a lack of service coordination.
Because this is all nonsense. What are the they're never specific. What are the nonprofits that are supposed to take care of all the people that are currently in jail, whether they're awaiting trial or serving a sentence or they're just crazy? Because we get all of them. Where exactly are you putting these people?
But overall, there's a clear buy-in from all stakeholders, from departments, community, the courts, and justice partners. We're all pulling in the same direction. Next slide, please.
Once again with the PowerPoint. Now, there are challenges that the Public Safety Task Force is making. That's right. Don't call it the Jail Shutdown Task Force. We don't want to call it that. that will give us a bad name that we want to close the jail.
We spoke earlier about acknowledging the challenges. I'd like to highlight a few challenges based on our look at the jail population as of March 2025. The Sheriff's Department, in partnership with Correctional Health Services, the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Health Services, and the CEO's DOJ compliance team, have made and continue to make improvements in providing the appropriate care for people in their custody diagnosed with serious mental illness. They also have facilitated the release of people into community care. In spite of the great work being done, the total jail population has increased 3% since January 2025.
Oh, the jail population has increased, even in Los Angeles County? Well, how exactly are you going to be able to depopulate if the jail system keeps getting populated? Why, oh, why is the jail population increasing? Oh, it gets better.
The population in specialty mental health housing is 38% of the total population, or approximately 4,866 people.
So we have 4,866 people that belong in a mental institution because we don't allow those anymore. Where are they going to go if you don't put them in the jail? I'm not saying the jail is the best place for them, but where are they going to go?
Prop 36 has had an immediate impact.
Oh, okay. Now, this is fascinating. Prop 36, which was passed overwhelmingly by the voters, made a lot of changes to some of the lax things that we did with our criminal justice reforms and put some teeth back into things like retail theft, repeated over and over and over again, and made it so your third arrest on a drug offense meant that it wasn't just a misdemeanor anymore. It was a treatment-mandated felony. Well, that got passed in November. It went into inaction in December. And here we are 3 months later. And what is this? It actually has led to more arrests and more people in jail?
Prop 36 has had an immediate impact. The jail receives about approximately 35 people a week held on Prop 36 related charges.
Look at that. Congratulations, LAPD and LA Sheriff's Department. Thanks to Prop 36, 35 people a week who previously were not being arrested are now being arrested. That's incredible. That's real progress. I mean, the people that are at this Board of Supervisors meeting probably think that's the opposite of progress, but we're just getting started here, everyone. As we go through LA County's plan to close Men's Central Jail without having anything to replace it with, I'd love to hear from you. Especially, I know we have a lot of people who listen who are in law enforcement, related to law enforcement. What do you think of this plan to close LA County's Men's Central Jail without any replacement? A jail that includes 4,600 people that are severely mentally ill. What do you think? Do you think this plan makes any sense to you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Are you down with LA County's plan to close Men's Central Jail? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. LA County is moving forward with their plan to eventually close Men's Central Jail, although that's something they voted on 5 years ago and was supposed to be done 4 years ago. But they have changed the name of the task force that's supposed to close the jail from the Closing Jail Task Force to the Public Safety Task Force. I'd love to hear from you, whether you're a resident of the county or you happen to work in law enforcement, your thoughts on this idea to close Men's Central Jail. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Dale in Culver City. Dale, hello.
Hey, Randy, thanks for taking my call. You know, I was just telling your screener that the worst thing they could do is close county jail. I was there for the last time I was there was 32 years ago, and it sucked so bad in county jail, I mean, for the prisoners anyway, that it was the last time I ever went to jail, and I've been clean and sober for 32 years after that. Went to a rehabilitation center and haven't drank or used drugs in 32 plus years.
Well, congratulations, Dale. That is incredible. I'm going to give you applause for that right now. Yeah, that kind of deterrent is something we're completely taking away in the name of care first, jails last?
That you need a deterrent, otherwise I would not, if I was just on the streets, I would have just kept doing what I was doing. But jail really, that gave me a chance to pause and take a look at what a mess my life had become. You know what? On another note, I was just getting on the freeway off of Braddock Boulevard, and there's a homeless people, a Trente Diagua-looking guy, another guy peeing on a shopping cart, and I called the Culver City Police Department. The dispatcher said, well, that's L.A. there. But she was kind enough to transfer me to L.A. 911. She stayed on the line with me, explained what was going on. So L.A. said they're sending down some police officers right now as we speak.
Oh, I love to hear that. Well, Dale, thanks so much for the update, and I'm so happy for you that you got your life turned around. So glad to have you call in, buddy. Thanks so much for the call. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Los Angeles County is moving forward with their plan to close Men's Central Jail without anything to replace it with. What do you think of this idea? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. LA County Board of Supervisors is still moving forward with their plan to close Men's Central Jail without a replacement. They just don't want to call it that anymore. Are you down with this idea they've been working on for 5 years to close the jail? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Stephen in LA. Stephen, hello.
Hi, Randy. Just wanted to say, first of all, that law enforcement does absolutely love you. Keep up the good work. You're doing a great job. I've got some friends that are cops, and my brother's a probation officer. You're right on point with a lot of these things. My brother's always said that since Prop 47 was the one where it turned L.A. into what we call Gotham City, it's nice to see it's returning back, and the jails are a little fuller. But as my cop friends will tell me, it's just sad. Follow the money. We also talked about how this homeless situation is being investigated, and there's been billions wasted. Look into probably in the next 3 to 4 years where they're going to start uncovering some of this stuff with defunding the police and funding these organizations. They're a bunch of grifters, and it's going to be exposed. It's just going to take probably 3 to 4 years before they turn their eyes onto that sort of thing. So keep digging, keep investigating. You're doing a great job, and we love you.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Stephen. Appreciate it. And thanks so much for the nice words. And he's totally right. I mean, you look at the makeup of some of these organizations. For instance, you remember when the Board of Supervisors had that whole meeting about what's going on at Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, and every single person who spoke at public comment was affiliated with some organization, whether it's the Youth Justice Coalition or ACT LA. Well, what do you know? The state board that's supposed to have oversight over things like the probation department and the juvenile halls, the state commission happens to have a whole bunch of people appointed to it from those organizations. And these organizations advocate for alternatives to incarceration, which, what do you know, they probably have a funding source for, or they probably have a service that they could provide. This is very much at the base level about a whole bunch of organizations finding a really, really, really lucrative way to get the county to reprioritize how much money it spends. Because it's not like they're going to just save the money. No, they're going to just spend all that money that goes towards the sheriff's department and the jails to something completely different. We saw this with defund the police, and we're seeing it now. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Jimbo in Hollywood. Jimbo, hello.
Yes, I work in a men's institution, and the Twin Towers, other facilities, releasing mental patients who are convalescent, and they're giving us a hard time. Even if they're the last days of their life, they're strong, they're hurting us. Some nurses are quitting. We need to unite. Where's the union who can help us on this personal issue? Because also they're releasing some inmates from Twin Towers or other facilities, and then they end up in our mental institution, and then we have cold grade that we can get hurt, and they're so strong. It takes like 7 of us to hold down a patient while they get a cocktail shot to sedate them, and then the next day they're happy, they're housed and fed. So this is too much. The Twin Towers has to stay up and stay there. People should go and protest, save that jail, because there's no place to rehabilitate them. They don't cooperate. They don't listen. They're intelligent. They know how to manipulate the staff. Some of the nurses get hurt, too. Like I say, hello, union.
Oh, you're totally right. You are totally right, Jimbo. And this is one of the problems that we're going to be facing is when you don't have any locked facilities and you don't have anybody who has any position of authority because we want to give all these people to nonprofits. What happens when a violent outburst occurs? People are going to get hurt. You're totally right about that. And it's completely unacceptable because
Ronald Reagan and open up the mental institutions. He's the one who started closing them, and it went like a chain of command dominoes. We need to, wake up, people. Vote for this. Keep it open. There's no other place. They just want to shut it down for the real estate market. That's it. Lawyers don't want to be near a Twin Towers, but we have to keep it open regardless or not. Thank you.
I think you make some really great points. Thanks so much for the call, Jimbo. Appreciate it. And yeah, closing the mental facilities, whether you want to go all the way back to Reagan or even before that and go all the way back to JFK, terrible, terrible, terrible idea. And you go back to 1999, and I'll look up what the statute is, what the bill is. But when the federal government decided that Medicare funds would not go to reimburse any mental health facility with more than 16 patients, because we're all going to have these community facilities, that was a massive, massive, massive mistake. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Ralph in Whittier. Ralph, hello.
Hello. I disagree with shutting down Men's Central Jail, and to say that there's nothing else available is BS. The Board of Supervisors knows that East Facility at the Pitches Detention Center complex is available. It wasn't completely shut down. Back in the day, it was referred to as Supermax. It can be rehabbed and reopened. The other facility is Mariloma out in North County. That facility used to house county female inmates. Then the feds leased it to house inmates or people waiting deportation. That facility is available. The other thing, too, that your listeners and you guys need to push is how much the board spent to shelve the idea of rebuilding Men's Central Jail 5 years ago. I believe the tab was about $80 million. In addition to that, I think my suggestion for somebody you should have on your show jointly is Alex Villanueva to speak on what happened 5 years ago when the whole idea was shelved to shut down Men's Central Jail and build a new jail. The board is wrapped up in care first, jails last. They don't want anybody going else to jail. If you talk to probation officers at Somar and Los Padrinos independently, those places are horrible. They've got juveniles in the 18 to 24 age group that have no business being in a juvenile facility and should be in state prisons. The violence level is off the hook. The other individual I think would be interesting to have on your show, in addition to Alex, would be the DA. I think you guys would find what they both have to say very, very interesting, and I think it would really infuriate the public as to what this Board of Supervisors has done.
I think those are some fantastic ideas. And it's interesting you say about the juvenile hall situation. That's one of the side effects of George Gascon refusing to charge any juvenile offender as an adult. So even if you committed heinous murders, even if you were a gang member, you went to juvie instead of state prison. And that's part of the reason why it's gotten so dangerous that everyone doesn't even want to show up to work at those juvenile facilities.
And the individual you just spoke about how dangerous it is with working with the mental patients, I've been assigned to what used to be 4,500, 4,700. I worked the mental unit over at Sybil Brand. I've worked 7,000 over at Central Jail. I've worked Department 95, which was the mentally ill court. He's right. The nurses, civilians cannot do that job by themselves. They have to have deputy sheriffs to back them up. I've had incidents, and he's not crazy. I've had situations where I've had 200-pound plus deputies trying to hold down a single male inmate and trying to get him back into handcuffs or get him into restraints. They're not. The civilian side of mental health is not set up to deal with those people by themselves. They have to have help. That's why you have a deputy sheriff with a psychologist working the mental evaluation teams that are out in the field, because the psychologists sending them out there by themselves, they're going to get hurt.
You're totally right about that. Thank you so much for the call, Ralph. I really appreciate all that information. You're great, buddy.
All right. Bye.
800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls on LA County Board of Supervisors going through with the plan to close Men's Central Jail without a replacement. They just don't want to call it that anymore. Let's go to Richard in Culver City. Richard, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Great show. I was wondering, how does Proposition 36 work into that closing of the jails?
I am so glad you asked, because I'm about to play the sound of this. Because of Prop 36, the jail population is increasing, not decreasing. And Janice Hahn even openly asked in the meeting, is it even possible now to close Men's Central Jail? Prop 36 may have stopped this whole nonsense in its tracks.
Yeah. Okay, great show, Randy.
Thanks so much for the call, Richard. Appreciate it. In fact, when we come back, you're going to hear exactly what the guy who's in charge of closing the jail has to say about Prop 36 and what Janice Hahn has to say about Prop 36, because this is the first time I've ever heard of any results of Prop 36 in Los Angeles County. That's coming next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. All right, let's hear what the guy who's in charge of closing Men's Central Jail in LA County has to say about Prop 36.
On December 26, 2024, there were 12 people in custody on such offenses. On March 17th of 2025, there was 403.
There are 403 people in jail right now thanks to Prop 36 in LA County.
Roughly 35 to 40% of these individuals are housed in moderate and high observation mental health housing. Average length of stay is a very important metric. The average length of stay increased 18 days from pre-COVID to the end of calendar year 2024.
So this leads to Janice Hahn asking, well, if thanks to Prop 36, which was overwhelmingly supported by the voters, more people are inflowing into the jail, how exactly are you supposed to depopulate the jail?
Let me ask you what you think Prop 36 has, and we heard the warnings about Prop 36. We heard them loud and clear that probably would increase our jail population. But the public, for some reason, overwhelmingly supported it. They felt like they wanted a little more accountability. How do you think Prop 36 is going to impact your mission to our mission to close Men's Central Jail? Will it delay this process? Does it make it impossible now to ever close Men's Central Jail?
Wouldn't that be a fun turn of events if the best way to undo this nonsense from July of 2020 is Prop 36 has now made it so they cannot decarcerate?
So I would say it depends on the trajectory. Right now, like I said, there's about 38 people a week being added to the jail population. So any addition...
Look at that. Did you know that? I didn't know that. 35 Prop 36 arrests and prosecutions are happening every single week. Prop 36, 35 of them a week. That's huge. That's 35 repeat retail thieves or fentanyl dealers or people who are severely addicted to drugs are finally getting the help or the treatment that they need. Or with the repeat thieves, they're going away.
Without subtraction.
Yeah, we're kind of going in the wrong
delays,
direction.
We're going in the wrong direction. But I do think, it is early on. We are talking with partners. I know the court's looking at it. I know the sheriff's department's looking at it. Public defenders are working really hard, as always, as they do every day. We're going.
Gee, this guy, I could tell who he's in the camp with.
We're going to have to see, but we're not going to wait to see. We're going to continue to work hard with our partners to identify strategies. So once again,
we're going to have it so all the things that we can depopulate the jails for, we will. But all the Prop 36 people, they'll still be in jail.
So once again, get people out of jail to deal. We have sentenced people who are in the jail, right? That's a large percentage of the population. And so they're serving either some state sentences in the county jail, or they're serving county jail sentences. So that might be an area of opportunity in terms of, I know there are programs now that people can finish off their sentences in the community, right?
What does that mean? So you get sentenced to time, you're doing your time, but, well, we don't want to pay for this, so we're going to let you out in the community, and you can serve your sentence, what, at home with the ankle monitors? Oh, wait, there's no probation officers to check on those. I don't know if this is going to work out, but we'll keep up to date on this. We'll keep following this because LA County doesn't seem to be backing away, although Prop 36 might have actually saved the day when it comes to this plan to close Men's Central Jail. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Chuck writes in and says, the competition got me to listen to you. Hey, Randy, Tim Conway Jr. started a new segment at 5 o'clock on KFI called The News Whip. When they introduced it today, it reminded me that it was 5 o'clock and that you were on, so I instantly switched. I forgot your show had already started, but KFI jogged my memory.
What an a-hole.
No, Timmy, he's not an a-hole. He just got reminded of my show while listening to your show. Nothing wrong with that. Thanks for the listener, Uncle T-Bones. Thanks so much for listening to this show, everyone. If you ever want to get an episode of the podcast, go to kabc.com, click on podcast, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for the News Blitz with Randy Wang, hit subscribe. I knew I was going to do that. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone, for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC.